When you think of Japan, what comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's this incredibly intense, almost sacred dedication to work. But what if I told you that the roots of that famous work ethic came from a place you would never, ever expect? A religion that traditionally taught people to detach from the world. Well, let's dive in and unravel this amazing story.
Right off the bat, we're faced with a massive puzzle. On one hand, you've got Buddhism, which for centuries taught that worldly jobs and all that are just distractions from what really matters, enlightenment. But on the other hand, you have Japan, one of the most famously industrious societies on the entire planet. How on earth do those two things fit together?
I mean, the contrast is just so stark when you lay it out. The modern Japanese work ethic, it's all about diligence as a virtue, corporate loyalty, even the old stereotype of the economic animal. But traditional Buddhist teaching, it's basically the opposite. Renounce worldly things, practice detachment, and see labor as a tie that holds you back. These two worldviews couldn't seem further apart. So, to really appreciate the revolution that's coming, we first have to get a handle on the old way of thinking. Let's take a quick look at why, for centuries, traditional Buddhism saw work as, well, not just irrelevant, but a genuine obstacle to salvation. This quote from the historian Naoki Komuro really just says it all. The original idea was crystal clear. The more you get involved in worldly work, farming, making things, selling stuff, the further you're moving away from enlightenment. So work wasn't just neutral, it was seen as a step in the completely wrong direction. And, this wasn't just an internal Buddhist idea. The famous sociologist Max Weber, the guy who basically wrote the book on how religion and economics connect, he came to the exact same conclusion. He looked at Buddhism and saw a worldview that was fundamentally at odds with the kind of hardworking, profit-driven mindset that fuels capitalism. So here's the bottom line. For a long, long time, Buddhist thought put up this huge wall between your spiritual life and your economic life. The path to nirvana was all about moving away from the world, and your job was one of the biggest things tying you to it. And this wasn't some fringe idea, this was a core principle across the board. But here's the thing about big ideas. They have to actually work for real people living real lives. And that's where our story takes a dramatic turn. It all started with a single, desperate question from a very worried farmer. So, let's set the scene. Where in the early 1600s in Japan, a farmer goes to see this incredible figure, a Zen monk named Suzuki Shosan. And Shosan wasn't your typical monk. Before this, he was a battle-hardened samurai. So, this farmer comes to him with a problem that pretty much summed up the struggle for millions of ordinary folks at the time. And there it is, the heart of the problem. You can just feel the anxiety in that question, can't you? This farmer is a good person. He wants to follow the path. He wants to practice his faith. But his life, his actual everyday work, is completely getting in the way. He's trapped. He has to work to survive, but he believes that very work is damning him. What is he supposed to do? And this is the moment. This is the pivot on which everything turns. Because Shosan's answer wasn't just a piece of advice. It was a complete redesign of Japan's entire spiritual landscape. And there it is, 4 simple words that changed everything. Farming is Buddhist practice. He didn't say, try to find time after work. He didn't say, work is a necessary evil. He took the farmer's problem and turned it completely on its head. The very thing the farmer thought was the obstacle. Shosan said that was the path. This idea became known as Shokubun Bukkyo Setsu. It's the theory that your shokubun, your occupation, your role in society, your lot in life, isn't a distraction from your Buddhist practice. It is your Buddhist practice. With that one idea, Suzuki Shosan just took a sledgehammer to that wall between the sacred and the secular. Okay, so that sounds like a great concept, but how does it actually work in practice? How does digging in a field or forging a sword become a path to enlightenment? Let's break down Shosan's amazing logic. The key for Shosan was total, single-minded focus. He argued that when you pour your entire being into the task at hand, you quiet all the noise in your head. That intense concentration actually burns away worldly desires, greed, ego, all the stuff that traditional meditation was designed to overcome. Your field, your workshop, your desk, they just became a new kind of monastery. And what's so powerful is that Shosan made this universal. He didn't just stop with the farmer. He said this applies to everyone. The warrior practicing with his sword, the artisan at her loom, the merchant balancing his books. Every single occupation, when performed with total dedication, was a legitimate path to salvation. As Naoki Komuro put it, this was nothing less than a Copernican revolution for Japanese Buddhism. Think about it. Just like Copernicus recentered the solar system, Shozan recentered spiritual life. It no longer revolved around a distant monastery. Instead, it revolved around the daily work and lives of ordinary people. Now, this wasn't just some abstract philosophical shift. This one idea would have massive, long-lasting consequences, planting the seeds for a brand new cultural and economic spirit that would define Japan for centuries. You can see the chain reaction this sets off, right? Step 1, your job is now your spiritual path. Okay, so step 2, that means your everyday secular work is now sacred. Step 3, if your work is sacred, then being diligent and focused isn't just about doing a good job. It becomes a moral and spiritual virtue. And finally, step 4, boom, you've just created a powerful new ethical engine for all economic activity. And this idea echoes all the way to the modern era. Just listen to this quote from Shichihei Yamamoto. He says, "If you want to understand Zen, study a Japanese Sogo Shosha." A Sogo Shosha is one of those giant, powerful trading companies. He's directly connecting that intense, all-in corporate focus back to this Zen-inspired work ethic from the 1600s. And that, right there, is the answer to our puzzle. The image of the intense Japanese salaryman and the serene Zen monk in a temple, they don't seem to have anything in common, but they do. Thanks to Suzuki Shosan's revolution, they can be seen as two different branches of the very same tree, the belief that single-minded dedication in your chosen path is the way. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought to end on. Shosan's idea gave the work of his time a kind of sacred meaning. So it makes you wonder about our own lives, doesn't it? What would it mean to approach our jobs not just as something we do to get by, but as a form of practice? What would change if your daily labor was your path?